Alright guys, so I'm here back at the truck now. Kind of got a little bit of a late start today, later than I wanted anyways. Starting to work on the wiring and labeling everything in the fuse box. So I'm going to start by just labeling all the fuses and relays that I need. I'm going to be reusing the factory relays for everything. So I got the manual out right now and just going through and going to label everything for starters. Record a whole lot, sorry guys, but I was a little focused on this. So I got the ECU plugs, ran through the firewall. Did take the passenger side manifold off so I could do the crank wiring and crank sensor wiring and the starter wiring. So got everything else all ran, hooked up, and I got some bolts on the way here. My delivery service. I'm going to bolt up the coil packs when that's done. Other than that, the rest of everything is all bolted and plugged in. Only thing I have left is 2 grounds. Back there, the other coil pack. Got to hook the fuel system up. And I started working over here on getting all the wiring done. So as I said before, went through, labeled everything. The starter relay didn't actually have a signal, so I found the ignition wire that came to this plug. This plug went to the rest of the engine harness. So this was an ignition wire, and this goes back to the trigger for the starter relay. So once I spliced these together, then the starter ran. One other thing I did was unloom all of these wires going back to the fuse box. So when I switched the negative with the positive lead. So this is the positive lead that went to the starter. Originally the starter was on the driver's side, so this cable is like 8 inches too short, but the ground cable that went down to the transmission on the block, this one is actually perfect length. It goes down right underneath the engine and then over to the passenger side for the starter. So works pretty well. I'm just gonna have to loom it and protect it, and it should work pretty good. Hey dude. Ooh, see, told you guys, delivery service. Check it out. Awesome.
Hi.
Okay. So getting a little bit farther on the wiring, I'm just kind of throwing it together here like this, just to make sure everything works before I button everything up and trim all the wires to length and everything else. Just a temporary ground here. I did prime the fuel system. This was like 2 days ago, so it's still holding at 35 psi with no leaks for about 2 days now, and I'm liking it. At least I don't think it's leaking anywhere, not that I've seen. So now I have to do torque converter bolts and fill fluids, and then I'll probably try to start it. Alright guys, so here's kind of the moment of truth, I guess. I think I got everything hooked up that I need. I just got it kind of wired and set there. Hopefully that's good enough. Just want to get it started and see if it's gonna work or not. Fuel pressure is still holding around 30-35 psi. I'm gonna turn the key, and then if it primes, I'll try to fire it. The computer is sending the signal to the fuel pump relay to start, so if it primes, then I'll give it a whirl. Doesn't look like it primed. Okay, so that didn't work. Do some testing here. Okay, so PCM is turning on, but I wonder if I'm not getting, so I'm not getting any trigger to the power for the fuel pump or the starter relay. Alright, so I did a little more putzing around, and I think what my problem is I think the fuel pump relay has a negative trigger originally, so it has continuity to positive when I was expecting continuity to ground. So basically the computer's trying to send a positive to signal and a positive signal, so it's not activating the coil to close the relay. So and then for the starter relay, I think it's the same thing. So what I'm going to do is this is like an ignition positive, and then I'm going to activate twist these together, and then this goes to the starter relay. So now I should be able to crank it and hear the starter work. Alright, so that's a good sign. That one works. So what I'm going to do for the fuel pump part, I'm going to use this little bypass wire that I made in a previous video. Should be able to see as soon as I stick this in there the fuel pump priming. And then I did verify that the computer and everything's actually turning on, so that should be good. So I'm going to hook the bypass up to the fuel pump, and then I'm going to try to start it and see what it does. Now we're building fuel pressure. That's a start. So I still don't have like the MAF or anything hooked up, and I think there's some vacuum leaks from other stuff, but she works. It works. A little bit rough. Oh, I should unplug this frickin'. Fuel pump's still running. Fucking 65 pounds. Alright. Hold on. I'm gonna try that again, and I might try to come out and feather the throttle a little bit and see if it'll run a little better. Yeah, buddy. One thing I totally missed, didn't really think much about, was I don't have the radiator hooked up, so the transmission cooler lines that come up here, and there's one down there just spitting tranny fluid all over when it was running, so whoops. no exhaust on there. Not gonna drive it yet. Okay, one more time, just for giggles. There it was. Well, it starts. Celebrate. Okay, so maybe a little bit too early to celebrate, but I did run it that time with got the radiator back in it, so it wasn't pissing tranny fluid all over. So I put the radiator back in, and I put the stock fan on just to see how it was, and it's like almost like I tried that. It fits really well. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this one on there or do an electric fan. I'd like to maybe do an electric fan with a shroud because I'm not sure if this radiator is going to be big enough to actually support this engine. But I think maybe if I could get a shroud on it with a really good fan, maybe you'd be able to keep it cool, because this is like for a 4-liter V6, not a 6-liter V8. So I don't know, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I did go through and loop these heater lines around. Just got a lot of little stuff to do. Clean up the wiring. I definitely want to loom everything and protect everything before I try to drive it. I got to do the shifter linkage yet. It also doesn't, it's not running with any O2 sensors right now. So like here's one of the O2 sensor plugs. I still got to do O2 sensors, hook all that up so it'll run right. And brake booster line, clean up all the wiring. This is just kind of spliced together, what you saw earlier. And then I'll get rid of this whole loop. So instead of looping it around and then connecting everything here, I'll probably just chop it off here somewhere and then splice it right into this. Might chop this whole plug off. I ended up just cutting off the wires that I needed from the plug, and I'll probably just get rid of this whole plug and then loop this right from here over to here, and it should look pretty good. So that's what I got next.